thumbnail is not wrong. You can indeed predict a team's season win totals using three numbers within an accuracy of about 75 to 80%. I know you don't believe me. That's why I made this video, to prove it to you. But before we get into that, I want to say welcome to Kinetic Sports, the place where we learn to bet to win. Like, share, subscribe, send this to friends who you know are in sports betting. We're squarely into week 1 of the 2025 NFL season, and we are about to start sharing some of the tools that we use to come up with the amazing plays that we do. If you followed us last week, we went 4-1 in our selections. Our one selection missed by half a point. Thank you. Spencer Rattler is non-poisonous. We found out Spencer Rattler is indeed not a rattler. He's a rattler in name only. He is non-poisonous. Okay. Like, share, subscribe. We'll talk about the Patreon later. But this is what I got for you today. It's called the Stock Market Indicator. I did not come up with this stat. Shout out to Phil Steele and all of his research. Stock Market Indicator is one way we look to get a 30,000-foot view of the league to see what teams are going to do in the upcoming season. And we can do this by using only three numbers. Let me show you what I have for you. First thing we're going to need to do is gather 3 previous years of win totals. We're assuming we're going into the 2020 season and we want to predict the wins of a team going into the 2020 season. So we'll need 3 previous years/seasons of wins. After that, we're going to establish a baseline. We're going to use the first 2 years to establish a baseline, take an average of that. And then after that, we're going to calculate the SMI. And we do that by subtracting last year's win totals, which for us in 2020 last year would have been 2019, from the baseline to get the team's stock market indicator. For our example, I'm only going to use 2 teams. We're going to use the 2020 Cincinnati Bengals and San Francisco 49ers. Like we said, we needed the first 2 years of win totals, so 17 and 18, and there you have them on the screen. We take the average of those. The average of those 2 numbers is going to give us our baseline. So what you see here is Cincinnati has a baseline of 6.5 wins. San Francisco has 5.5 wins. We're going to take that number and we're going to compare it to 2019. Now, in 2019, the Bengals came up with a lowly 2 wins, while the 49ers had 13. The way we compare these two is we're going to subtract the team wins now from the baseline that we got. When you subtract the 2019 wins from the baseline we just created, you get 4.5 for Cincinnati and a -8 for San Francisco. What that number tells us is we can expect the Cincinnati Bengals to have the same wins they did in 2019 or more. San Francisco, we can expect them to have the same 13 or less. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but let's continue. Let me show you what I have. What you see on your screen now are the SMI results from 2005 to last year, essentially 20 years, the last 20 years of stock market indicators for teams. On the left side of the screen, teams that had a positive, right side of the screen, teams that had a negative SMI. We tracked the ranges. So going back to the left side of the screen, teams that had a stock market indicator of 0.5 through 2.5, their record stayed the same or increased 110 times. It went down 61 times. And then you see the winning percentage, which is 64%. If you increase that to 3 to 4, you see it actually goes up to 76%. 46 teams had the same record or better when they had a 3.0 to a 4.0 SMI. Right? That's what that means. And then the last row, teams that had a 4.5 stock market indicator or higher were 59 and 8, or 88%. There was an 88% chance that they were going to keep the same amount of wins or increase. And more than likely increase, because what you'll find out is, which we'll see later, is the higher the SMI, the more wins the team tends to win. On the right side of the screen, it's the exact opposite, but it's the same. It's the same, but it's different. It's different, but same. Negative SMIs from negative 0.5 to negative 2.5. Teams went down in wins, kept the same amount of wins, or went down 114 times. Vice 51 times. For 69, let's call it 70%. And as you see, if we increase, it becomes a little bit more reliable. Negative 3 to negative 4, those teams went down in wins 48 times. Vice 17 for 73%. But once again, minus 4.5. And less than that, minus 4.5, minus 5, minus 6, minus 7. Those teams decreased in wins 56 times. Vice 10 for 85%. So again, just reiterating, basically what a SMI tells us is if you have a positive one, you will keep the same amount of wins, but most likely increase. If your SMI is negative, same amount of wins, or more likely decrease to the tune of 88%. That means there's about 20% of teams, 15 to 20% of teams that go the opposite way of what we think they're going to go. SMI doesn't tell us how many wins or how many losses a team will increase or decrease by. It only tells us the likelihood that the team will increase. Let's go back to our example. In our example, we had Cincinnati and San Francisco. 2019, 2 wins and 13 respectively. SMI 4.5, negative 8 respectively. What do you think happened going into the 2020 season? Like we said, Cincinnati should go up in wins. Did they? Yes, they did, by the tune of 8. 8 wins. Some would say they only had 2 wins. It's not too much, that they could. And I understand the criticism of this stat is, well, for instance, they had 2 wins. Of course they're going to go up. That's not necessarily true. But you could see where someone would have that criticism. San Francisco was supposed to go down, and they did, by the tune of 6 wins. Reiterating, this is not 100%. San Francisco could have had 14 wins or 15 wins. The stat says that they're most likely, to the tune of 80% likely, to go down in wins. In this case, I chose these 2 teams to illustrate the stat and how it works. To illustrate it even further, I wanted to go to the 2023 season and show you how the stat played out. The stat flagged 10 teams in 2023 with positive SMIs that should have went up in wins from a season before. You see the Rams, Colts, Cardinals, all the way through to the Browns. You see their 22 wins, 2022. In between that, you see their SMI going into the 23 season, and you see how they finished. Only 2 teams varied or strayed from the trend, and that was the Titans, who actually went down. They had a 4.5, which said they should have went up from their 7 wins. They actually went down. Titans are trash. Tennessee Titans trash. Keep the alliteration. Tennessee Titans trash. Okay. Arizona Cardinals, who kept the same amount of wins. They won 4 and they kept 4. So for some purposes, some handicappers would actually call this stat 9-1, because we did say that the season wins would stay the same or increase. So if you could take that tie and make that a 9-1, which would make this stat 90%. If we go over to the negative results for the 2023 season, again, we see a 7-2-2. If we flip those, the 2 ties over, we're actually 9-2. But you look and you see the Chargers, Carolina, Cowboys. I actually screwed that up. If you see that on the screen, the Cowboys, this stat should actually be 7-1-3. I counted this as a loss, but the Cowboys stayed the same in wins. So that should have been a tie. Should be another tie over here. Should be 7-2-3. Take the 3 over, that would be 10-2. But yeah, you see, and the bigger the number is, the wins kind of go with it. You see the Vikings were at -5, which caused them -5.5 actually. And they lost 6 games off of their win total. Went back to show you last year. And I went out of my way to flag 3 teams. These are the teams we made the most money off of last year. The bookmakers and the public were disrespecting the Commanders and the Vikings. And because we had this stat in our back pocket, we played on the Commanders and Vikings a lot of times when others wouldn't. So we made a lot of money. This is how we did it, using the SMI, which went 6-1-2, or if you're looking at the same record, 8-1 for last year. And then on the negative side, we made money on the Cleveland Browns, which everybody probably could have seen the Cleveland Browns going down in wins. But if you'll remember, Deshaun Jackson, a well-rested, well-massaged Deshaun Watson, I'm sorry, Deshaun Jackson, he's retired. A well-rested, loose. He was very loose. Deshaun Watson was very loose after leaving Houston, coming to Cleveland, and they were able to get 11 wins before he went down. He actually got hurt before the end of the season, if I remember correctly. And so going into last season without him, they were gonna take a dive to the tune of 8 wins. That's crazy. But there you have the SMI for last year. I just want to give you those 2 years to show you that it does work. And as an added bonus, they say give it away. Give it. They say give it away and it will come back to you. So I'm giving it away. I'm giving away sauce. Here are the stock market indicators for the upcoming season, or the current season, I should say. Now this video is way too late. 2025 season. The teams on the left side of your screen are going up in wins. So say if the stock market indicator and the teams on the right are going down based on the established baseline and what they did last year, the stat says that they either over or underachieved. So pay close attention to that. Oh, there you have it. Stock market indicator, a regression stat, meaning we create a baseline. We see how far a team has gone from that baseline, and then we kind of bet, predict, let statistics and the central limit theorem do its thing. Please consider donating or tipping through Cash App. That's $Kinetic Sports. Cash App. We appreciate every dime that you can spare to keep the lights on around here. It's fun, guys. The season is here. It is time to have some fun and to get this money. I'm looking forward to teaching you new sports bettors how to get an edge on these books. These books are crooked, guys. These books are crooked. They are crooked. They are after your money, obviously. But we got to be after their money. We cannot make it easy for them. Cannot make it easy for them. That's why we're here. Kinetic Sports. Stay tuned. Come back to the channel. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next video.